June 15th, 1917. To the New York Power Company. I write to you with a matter of the utmost urgency and significance, one that transcends the bounds of ordinary scientific endeavor. As you are aware, the dismantling of the Wardenclyffe Tower has recently taken place, an act that has left many in the scientific community, myself included, gravely concerned. It is imperative that I remain anonymous, for the nature of this communication touches upon matters not readily comprehensible nor intended for public knowledge. The Wardenclyffe Tower, as conceived by Mr. Nikola Tesla, was not merely an ambitious project aimed at wireless transmission of energy and information. It is a structure of profound importance, intricately designed to resonate with the very frequency of the Earth. This resonance, while perhaps esoteric to some, is a key element in unlocking future technologies that we have only begun to imagine. I have reason to believe, and evidence to support, that the interference on land has severely impeded the tower's ability to function as intended. The tower's unique capabilities can only be fully realized in an environment devoid of terrestrial disruptions. Offshore installations, isolated from the electrical noise and physical obstructions prevalent on land, would allow the tower to operate in harmony with the Earth's natural frequencies. Furthermore, recent reports from a crew operating in the Atlantic have revealed the detection of electrical signals emanating from the ocean. These signals bear a remarkable similarity in signature frequency and resonance to those recorded at the Wardenclyffe Tower. Such evidence strongly suggests that relocating the project offshore could mitigate the interference issues and allow the tower to achieve its full potential. It is with a sense of dire urgency that I implore you to reconsider the cessation of funding for Mr. Tesla's work. The research must not only continue, but be revitalized with new vigor. The implications of abandoning this project are more severe than any immediate fiscal concern. The masters, entities beyond our full understanding, are displeased that their primary method of communication with us has been severed. This discontent is not to be taken lightly, for it bears the weight of future consequences we are ill-prepared to face. With the deepest urgency, a concerned advocate of progress. On board the naval research vessel, Atlas, Edward Mercer and his team were attentively gathered in the command center. Navigation data intermittently illuminated the dim space as it flickered across the screens. Arthur, with a focused gaze, scrutinized the data displayed. Irene, nearby, quickly typed calculations, a crease of concentration marking her forehead. The consistent hum of machinery melded with the distant sounds of waves hitting the hull. Edward switched his focus to the command console to activate the onboard computer system of Atlas. When he initiated the system, a gentle vibration indicated Atlas was operational. A clear but robotic voice from the system then requested,
"Please identify all team members for the mission briefing."
Edward quickly listed Dr. Irene Petrova, Arthur Cohen, and myself, Edward Mercer.
"Team verification complete?"
responded Atlas, its display subtly brightening as the mission moved forward. Arthur, with noticeable urgency, interjected while Irene was still busy with her inputs. "Atlas, we need the quickest method to locate the signal." Atlas replied without delay,
"A network of acoustic transponders will efficiently and precisely pinpoint the distress signal."
Irene, looking up from her work, began to elaborate.
"If we calibrate the transponder array for enhanced hydroacoustic profiling..."
But Arthur, gesturing for brevity, swiftly cut in, "We don't have the luxury of time. Deploy now." With a nod of acknowledgement, though visibly annoyed, Irene agreed.
"All right, executing standard deployment now."
And quickly reconfigured the settings.
"Designated search area reached. Transponder sequence activated. Monitoring for precise localization,"
announced Atlas, guiding the team as they prepared for the complexities of their mission. With the briefing completed, Edward and Irene hastened into the deep-sea operations room as the Atlas weathered powerful ocean swells. The room was alive with the sound of machinery, punctuated by lightning flashes that threw quick, stark shadows against the tangle of wires and controls. Irene gestured towards a complex headset, explaining,
This is the binocular segmented display linked to the sensors aboard Proteus 2.
She brushed a stray lock of hair back from her forehead, a nervous gesture.
This project is the culmination of all my work, Edward, and now it's truly being put to the test.
You've accomplished great work here, Edward said, his voice sincere. The clear, firm voice of Atlas then filled the room.
Proteus 2 has been upgraded from the original Proteus submersible. It is retrofitted for remote operation. The haptic exoskeleton gloves will provide feedback from the submersible's robotic arms, allowing for precise manipulation in the deep-sea environment.
As Edward moved his hands into position, the ship pitched sharply. He steadied himself against the console. Irene observed quietly, with growing concern.
The storm's getting worse. We can't afford to delay,
she remarked. I'll do what I can, Edward assured her, turning his attention to the activating screens. Suddenly, Atlas interrupted with a critical update.
Arthur has boarded Proteus 1 and begun his descent towards the strongest signal area. Edward, prepare Proteus 2 for launch. It will act as our backup and extend our operational capabilities.
Once again, Edward could hear the ship rocking on the waves. He braced himself to delve into the mysteries below, each movement of the ship a reminder of the uncertainties that lay ahead.
Irene Petrova returned to the control room to rerun her calculations. As she settled into her station, a faint, irregular beep began to echo through the hum of the ship's operations. A subtle but persistent sound that gradually grew louder. She leaned forward, intently watching the radar as a blip emerged, indicating a large object steadily approaching. Intent on clarifying the image, Irene adjusted the radar settings. Atlas, enhance the resolution and focus the beam for improved tracking, she requested. Atlas paused, a moment longer than expected, before responding with a neutral tone.
I'm sorry, Dr. Petrova. The proposed adjustment violates current power management safety protocols and risks system overload during these critical operations.
Taken aback by the refusal, Irene insisted. Atlas, this is vital for understanding our surroundings. Implement the recalibration now.
Continuing with current settings.
Atlas replied, maintaining its position. As the intermittent beep evolved into a continuous ping, the radar now showed a large, albeit unclear form. Seeking another way to gain information, Irene suggested, Atlas, can we adjust the passive sensors to enhance our data on this anomaly?
Adjusting passive sensors within approved safety margins.
Atlas finally acquiesced. Irene monitored the new data coming in, her mind racing as she prepared for any necessary actions. Was this behavior a mistake in the programming, or was it intentional? A surge of anxiety constricted her, further complicating the already tense situation.
In the virtual realm beneath the sea, Edward experienced the ocean with a depth of sensation he had never felt before. The headset immersed him in a shadowy, shifting world where schools of fish flitted through stray shafts of light. With each movement of his hands in the haptic gloves, he felt the ocean current swirl around his fingers, bringing an almost tangible connection to the water around him. Only a sudden glitch in his visual feed marred his newfound clarity. Atlas announced the start of their deeper journey with a steady tone.
Initiating dive sequence now.
As the submersibles descended, darkness engulfed them, turning their dive into a seemingly endless descent. The vibrant scenes Edward had observed through the headset earlier now gave way to sparse visibility, heightening the sense of isolation. Over the background noise, Irene's voice came through on the intercom.
We've tracked the strongest signal detected by the transponders. I'm sending you coordinates now.
The speakers crackled with static, but then Irene's voice returned.
The distress signal is still active but weakening. Arthur's headed there now.
Her voice softened, adding a personal note.
And Edward, be cautious around Arthur. He's been acting strangely.
Edward keyed the mic. A beat of silence, then a torrent of static filled the channel. Proteus 1, Arthur, do you read? Anyone else experiencing this? Arthur's response came through unaffected. All systems here are operational. It might be your equipment malfunctioning. Just maintain your course. I am aligning my course towards the identified signal source, Edward confirmed, trying to ignore the crackling static that intermittently muddled his audio. Arthur, slightly irritable, replied, My onboard systems can handle the navigation. Just follow my lead. Atlas provided updates as they moved deeper.
Entering the Hadal zone now. Temperature is just above freezing, and pressure is at 110 megapascals. Visibility is low. Activating searchlights.
With the searchlights slowly charging up and illuminating the path ahead, Edward revealed the form of Proteus, one navigating the darkness. As he gripped his controls steadily, Edward struggled with increasing static in his headset. Amid the emerging visibility, he called out, Irene, Arthur, are you experiencing disruptions in communication? This time, there was no response. Enveloped in the luminescence of the headset's display, Edward was left to ponder the source of the mysterious disturbances, hinting at deeper complexities yet to be uncovered in the depths below. Enveloped in a darkness deeper than any night, Edward felt his isolation intensify as the storm's remnants and static from his headset merged into a suffocating drone. Suddenly, all sounds stopped, plunging him into an eerie stillness. Instinctively, Edward tore off his headset and discovered he was in a dim, cramped, windowless compartment. He surveyed the small space, which was crammed with panels and controls tightly arranged around his seat. Edward muttered to himself, Where am I? His voice was barely a whisper, the creaks and moans echoing around him as if the ocean itself were closing in. Edward stared at the multiple screens displaying data and live feeds from exterior cameras. The monitors flickered, showing the ocean floor scattered with dark volcanic obsidian, gradually revealed by the submersible's lights in a haunting display. Slowly, the realization sank in. He was inside the Proteus 2 itself. How was that possible? He did not remember leaving the ship or boarding the submersible. As Edward grappled with his confusion, a faint beep came to his attention. It was quiet at first, but steadily grew in power and frequency. The distress signal had reappeared. Edward quickly adapted to his unexpected situation. There was no time to ponder the strange circumstances of his arrival. The mission demanded his focus. The secrets of the deep beckoned more urgently than before. Resolute, Edward took hold of the controls, ready to face whatever lay in the deep. Edward felt an undeniable pull, a call emanating from the depths, akin to Atlas's synthetic voice, but distinctly different. Urged on by this mysterious call, Edward continued his journey. Just then, the voice, or perhaps it was an echo in his mind, resonated with a cryptic message.
Persevere through the darkness. Like Jonah in the Leviathan's depths, navigate the abyss where eons whisper secrets, and even death may yet yield its mysteries.